The economics of the climate crisis. Part 1. Capital denial. As the climate crisis tightens its grip, it demands our immediate attention and action. We have moved beyond the era of climate denial, only to encounter capital denial. This is a collective blindness to the financial perils of unchecked climate change. These unseen hazards could dwarf the expenses of confronting the crisis now. The escalating situation urges us to uncover informed, effective solutions. A thorough understanding of the crisis's economic dimensions is the cornerstone of meaningful impact mitigation. It's not simply about crunching numbers for pollution or the cost of cleaner technologies. It's about delving into the heart of the matter, from the origins of pollution to its extensive effects. This provokes critical questions. How do we fine-tune our approach to modeling pollution problems? Can this improved understanding help us design policies that combine environmental sustainability with economic viability? These are the questions driving our discussion today. Part 2. Overproduction. Understanding the climate crisis often pivots around the economic concept of externalities. Externalities are unchosen costs or benefits that affect an economic agent who did not opt to incur those costs or benefits. In this context, climate change can be seen as a massive negative externality. Actions like burning fossil fuels have global repercussions, borne by all, not just the economic agents responsible. This discrepancy between costs and actions results in market failure, as market prices fail to reflect the true social costs. To rectify this, policies often aim to internalize these external costs, bringing private costs in line with social costs. One such approach is the Pigovian tax, which seeks to embed the social cost into market prices. The idea is to discourage the production or consumption of harmful goods or services. Then there's the Coase theorem, which suggests that well-defined property rights and low transaction costs can enable market solutions to externalities. In essence, if greenhouse gas emission rights could be freely traded, the market might find the most efficient way to reduce emissions. Despite real-world implementation challenges, these theories inform environmental policy tools, like carbon pricing and emissions trading schemes. Part 3. Overpopulation. Another angle from which to view the climate crisis lies in the realm of overpopulation, a concept heavily grounded in Malthusian principles. Thomas Malthus, a scholar of the 18th century, theorized that unchecked population growth would inevitably surpass our ability to generate enough resources, ultimately leading to societal breakdown. This idea still echoes in contemporary dialogues, particularly through the use of the term carrying capacity. This term suggests that there is a finite threshold to the number of people our planet can sustain without degradation of our environmental resources. This overpopulation perspective brings into sharp relief the pressures of increasing population numbers, particularly in developing nations. These pressures are presented as forces that push us beyond our planet's environmental carrying capacity, thereby contributing significantly to the crisis. This viewpoint stands distinct from the externality approach. Rather than focusing primarily on the economic costs external to economic agents, this perspective foregrounds demographic factors, highlighting them as central contributors to climate change. Part 4. Overconsumption. The path to understanding the climate crisis arguably should not be limited to either the externality or the overpopulation approach. The social green perspective expands this viewpoint, incorporating issues of overconsumption and global inequality. This perspective frames climate change not just as a market failure, but also as a consequence of an economic system that fuels unsustainable consumption, primarily in the affluent regions of the global north. Here, there is a stark imbalance. The global south, which contributes least to the crisis, often suffers its harshest effects. This reality highlights that addressing market externalities is just a piece of the puzzle. We must also enact systemic changes. This could involve reassessing our definitions of economic success, enforcing tougher regulations on resource extraction and pollution, and advocating for sustainable consumption and production practices. Adopting this broad approach to the climate crisis could guide us towards a more equitable and sustainable world. Part 5. Final word. So, which perspective aligns with your view of the climate crisis? If you simply see overproduction of pollution as the issue, eco-capitalism might appeal to you. This perspective believes in harnessing the innovative potential of entrepreneurs and using targeted subsidies to accelerate market-based solutions. Conversely, if you find the arguments of overpopulation and overconsumption more compelling, you might lean towards an eco-socialist viewpoint. This perspective views capitalism as the problem and calls for a significant shift towards a sustainable economic paradigm. The decision is yours to make, but bear in mind, we're racing against time. Thanks for watching.